I'm Marco Bollinger. I'm with iSeeiTravel. We're a media company focused on the conscious traveler. And I'm here with Kristin Zibell of TakeYourBigTrip.com. It's a blog that focuses on inspiring people to get out there and start dreaming about taking your big trip, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm always interested in how, bloggers get started because, being a blogger myself, I know how much work it is,
That's right.
and to keep that motivation to keep going, usually there's some kind of impetus, something that really pushes you into getting going and keeping it going. So I was hoping you could tell me a little bit about TakeYourBigTrip.com.
Sure. Thanks, Marco. I started Take Your Big Trip about a year ago. And it was after I'd settled down in San Francisco from 2 years of traveling around the world. I'd kept blogs while traveling, but they were really for my mom and family to make sure I was okay. And they were a lot of, hey, I did this, I was here, I was there. But I also started getting feedback that I was doing things no one in my family had done. And not just going to the pyramids or riding on the back of elephants, but the fact that I had now made travel, long-term travel, a lifestyle and just figured out how to do it. So the blog was a really nice way to communicate how I was living my travel dreams. And then when I decided to settle down in San Francisco, I thought, I think I could offer something to others who kind of have these deep down travel dreams that haven't seen the light of day. And I think maybe by my own example and sharing my own stories, but then also kind of teaching a little bit and showing how you can actually do it, how you can save money, how you can create your travel vision, how you can decide where to go and then go and do it. So I started a year ago, and how I keep it going is kind of mining my old stories and kind of thinking of new topics and thinking, well, where was I 3 years ago, 2 years ago? What did I want to know? So those kind of more service articles, and then I also travel locally because living in San Francisco is like, I think living in living around the world sometimes. Totally. With all the different diversity. So I make it a goal now to travel locally and kind of keep that adventure cap on and report to others about it.
There is a ton of great information on your site. I was actually, when I first looked at it, I was really impressed with all this different, just kind of practical stuff, and I think it's kind of, you're doing a great job of hitting a lot of the points that really maybe are hang-ups for people when they want to take, most people can go on a 2-week vacation, but how in the world do you figure out how to take a 3-month, 4-month, 6-month vacation? You got to quit your job, this is a scary thing. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did you start to get over that fear of taking a longer trip?
So I took my first big trip to India and Nepal in 2008, and it was after kind of a big life change for myself. I had gone through a divorce. I kind of looked at my career. I was in corporate life and said, I've always had this dream to travel. And that's all I started with. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know that it was India at the time when I decided to do this. And I think that's the first step, is kind of like owning up to the fact that there's something deep inside that says, I want to travel the world, and I don't want it to be a 6-day vacation on a beach, or a prepackaged tour. I want to go out there and see the world and live the life of adventurers that I've only read about. So that was the first step, and I think that's really important for people to do, is own up to it. And then kind of decide, well, what does that look like? I was reading a magazine one night, of travel magazine, and an ad for India popped out. And when I say popped out, it was like this visceral reaction I had when I saw it, and all I knew was, I'm going to India. And I still had my job. It just kind of flowed where I was able to leave it gracefully with the support of my coworkers because I had the divorce at the same time. And then when I came back, I had no money. But I had faith that all I wanted to do was travel again. So I got a job, and this is in the height of the Depression. I did consulting instead of, sorry, depression, I meant recession. The Dow was at 6,000, so I don't know.
Don't say that word, we don't
right?
like that. Obama's gonna
exactly.
throw it out here.
So So I talked with companies and said, hey, I don't want to join full time, but I can be a consultant. And I was able to earn enough money to go off to the Middle East for a couple months, came back, did the same thing, went back to India, all around Southeast Asia, North Africa. And it was what I was meant to do. So I feel like what I learned along the way is people who are afraid to do it because of career or money or job, or career, money, family, or whatever, it's owning up to it, it's speaking truthfully, and then it's having the faith in yourself to do it and finding creative ways to make it happen. And now my career is myself, not necessarily for a corporation, although I do have a wonderful, wonderful job.
So iSeeiTravel, our media company, is really about, amongst many things, connecting with local people, local cultures, and respecting that, respecting environments. We really felt that, when you travel and you're able to get engaged with the locals that live there and the communities and the cultures, you really have a much richer experience. So one of the things that really stood out to me or on your blog was a comment you made about how you actually found long-term travel to be a bit cheaper.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people don't necessarily always equate that. A long-term trip is going to cost me so much money, and I'm really interested in that, because typically that also means that when you travel a little longer and slower and these things, you actually get to engage with these local communities a lot more. Anyway, I want to hear your take on that.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right. There's kind of two parts of it, right? There's the cost of long-term travel, and in more developing countries, kind of off the beaten path, off the tourist circuit, it's very affordable. I always share the numbers of my trip, right? Like, so India, 3 months, it was $6,000. Right? And I think about how quickly $6,000 goes in San Francisco. Certainly quicker than 3 months.
I live in New York.
Right?
That's like 1 month.
Exactly. So, and then I think about my trip to the Middle East, and that actually included 2 weeks in Spain as well, which is quite expensive. And that was with return home money about $10,000. So $7,000, and then I budgeted return home money because the first trip I didn't. And then the third trip for 4 months was $9,000. So I share that because I say, not to say, oh, I was able to save all this money, but that it's really achievable. And if we think about how much 2-week or package tours cost, anywhere from $1,500 to thousands of dollars for 2 weeks, right? And I believe on the backpacker, on a more budget, more slower trail, you can do it for months at a time. The second part of that is also in long-term travel, you're not tied to a schedule, right? Like, so if you don't make this one train or this one scheduled thing, it's okay, right? You have time on your side. So find the cheapest option, look for the cheapest hotel. I remember arriving in Dahab, Egypt, and I stayed at a place and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be here a while because it's fabulous. I'm not gonna stay with the hotel I originally booked. So I was able to walk around, price compare, bargain a little bit, found this beautiful place, Hotel Neptune, right by the bridge. It was $14 a night. I stayed there for 2 weeks. and long-term travel afforded me to do that because I was able to compare and then stay as long as I wanted.
That's great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for...
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, you can find a lot more information at Kristin's blog, takeyourbigtrip.com. It's really comprehensive. I totally recommend it. A lot of information, and I'm sure people can contact you if they have more questions too, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Kristin at takeyourbigtrip.com.
Well, thanks for...
Thank you, Marco.